Hey, Jess, is there three of us?
Yeah, it's you, Heather, and Jonna.
Can we get rolling?
Yep.
All right, 6:03. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is Page County Board of Health for March 15th, 2021. I'm assuming everyone has had a chance to look at the agenda, and I'll seek an approval, please.
This is Jonna. I approve.
Dr. Babe, you good? And then how about for the minutes from 1/18 of 21 and 2/8 of 21?
Yeah, I motion to approve those both.
I second.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to program reports. Karla. There you are. How you doing, Karla?
Hey, I'm well. How are you guys?
Good, good, good.
Good. I sent my report earlier. Was that in your packets that you had? Do you know?
I don't know that hurry. Was it in there? Oh, yep.
Yeah, it was there.
It is.
Okay. All right. It's actually from January was the last quarterly report that I did, but I've got a little bit of update on that. Right now, we are still under the waiver of not requiring the face-to-face appointments for WIC. And I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Karla Hynes with Matura, and we provide the WIC program in Page County as well as the Breastfeeding Peer Counseling program. And the waiver is extended. There's my alarm not to forget this meeting. Until I believe now it's into May 20th. But having said that, we are slowly, very slowly opening up a couple of clinics just to kind of have a trial run on what that looks like for us. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that happens with making sure do we have the right pins in the right spot? And I know you guys that have had clinics that way have done that, and it's kind of new for us and getting back into the swing of that. But it is also very, very nice to see our participants. And what we have found, we thought maybe they wouldn't want to come to clinic. No, they're wanting to come to clinic. They really do appreciate that face-to-face, knees-to-knees kind of consultation. In your report, I've got through December, and then I also have I've just did a look at what happened in January and February, and honestly, the numbers are pretty identical. The one thing always we look at enrolled with benefits. That's the ones that have signed up for WIC and then continue to keep coming. They haven't dropped off the radar. Those numbers have jumped up into the 90% in Clarinda, and then 89.6 in Shenandoah. So that's really, really good. It means that they're keeping their appointments and they're staying on WIC. They're going and getting their cards and getting their food at the grocery stores. The breastfeeding prevalence hasn't changed that much significantly over the last couple of months. We were a little surprised. We thought with COVID, we would see those numbers just skyrocket because of food insecurity. But I think more of our families were maybe more concerned about transmitting COVID. And so, and we weren't able to have that discussion knees to knees to try to convince them to go with the breastfeeding. But I guess that is all that I have for today. Do you guys have any questions for me on anything that we're doing? I know we're going to try to get kind of a slow start on getting into face-to-face clinics, and we're very, very excited about that. And there's light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah. Karla, do you have any idea how long they're looking at the breast pumps that they're just giving to the mothers versus the rentals?
I bet they don't change that even after the waiver. I bet that goes for quite a while, to be honest.
Oh, that would be good. Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, good.
We're really liking that. And except that we have this whole big stack of breast pumps in the office that's they look like bowling balls. So that's nice in case we have visitors. It looks like that. So, no, I think we are feeling a lot better compared to 1 year ago. So I'm kind of tickled about that. But anyway, I guess that's it, unless you have questions for me.
I don't, but thank you very much, Karla.
Good, thank you.
I
Okay.
will shoot off of here.
Okay. How about Carmen? Jess, is Carmen joining us?
She's on here.
Hi, this is Carmen.
Hi, Carmen.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
Well, not too bad. I just wanted to update you. I know it's been kind of a rough year. I have been mainly trying to keep the Homemaker program going through all this. I am currently doing 13 visits a week with 12 clients. And then when I'm not doing Homemaker, I am going back into the office and helping with the clinics as much as I can. I'm doing data entry for them and whatever else I could do with them.
We appreciate what you're doing.
I know this is a loaded question, and I know it's nothing that can be done now. I have been asked several times out in the community when blood pressure clinics are going to be started up again. I told them that it would have to be after all of this COVID thing got over with, before you guys would even consider me coming back. And especially now with our office number has been down, so I know it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I think that's the best answer to give since we don't know anything for certain at this.
But I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a lot of people out there wanting me to start them back up.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration when we start looking at schedules again.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, old business. As much as I would love to have the chair and co-chair appointed differently than myself, I don't know that we're able to do that tonight with just 2 other board members here. And we're going to be looking to fill some vacancies. So whoever you supervisors decide to have join us, just let them know they're probably going to have chair after their name very quickly. I don't know if that'll be a good selling point or not, but I think it needs to be talked about. So unless Jonah or Dr. Babe, you guys have another thought on that, I think we just got to move past it. We'll just table that. Okay. Public health bylaws. I know some of us have some thoughts on this. Again, is this something we need to hold until we get the rest of the board? I mean, we're having these meetings because we're meeting the minimum requirement, but without having everyone on, I feel like we're doing a disservice.
I think, can you guys hear me okay? I think the only thing that I would just suggest is that we make sure that whoever is joining the board is aware of the bylaws and their attendance requirements.
I agree, and I think we need to shore that up on the bylaws a little bit too, or at least have that discussion once we get everyone together. Okay, so we're going to skip over those 2 tables. And it looks like we have public comments limited to 5 minutes per person, please. If anyone has anything, I don't know if we want to do the hand raising thing, Jess, or what do we want to do here?
Can they do the hand raising thing on Zoom?
I don't know. I'm
I don't know either.
technologically savvy. I think they're, wait, yep, there, see, right, okay.
Oh, yay.
There you
Thanks,
go.
guys. But now what do I do?
How do I get rid of it? It doesn't go away.
Mike, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And this time I promise I won't say very much because we have experts on the call. But this is Mike Blazer with Invenergy. I just really following up from the last meeting in January where the request had been made to provide you folks with the source material for the data that we talked about, really from around the world addressing these claims of negative health impacts from wind turbines. So we have available today, first of all, Dr. Mark Roberts, Dr. Jeffrey Ellenbogen, and Mr. Michael Hankard with Hankard Environmental, who are recognized leading experts in each of their respective fields. They have prepared a summary regarding the issue, which I believe was provided to all of you. And then along with that, we have provided some light reading material, which is probably several thousand pages of studies and reports from around the world, again, dealing with the issue of health impacts from wind turbines. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say, just to lay the table. And obviously, Dr. Roberts, Dr. Ellenbogen, and Mr. Hankard are available for any questions you folks may have. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Can you guys hear me? I'm just calling in via phone.
Who is this?
My name is Tanya Lamb, and I live in Adair County.
Hi, Tanya, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for allowing me to talk for just a few minutes tonight. I just wanted you to know that we live in the footprint of industrial wind. It has 100% completely disrupted our lives. We can't sit outside at night and enjoy the peace and quiet. We're awakened many times in the night by the turbines, the noise, the vibration. We have to sleep in our basement on many occasions. We're into, I think, year number 2 of the turbines, so I think we've had ample time to get used to it, and we certainly haven't. You know, I know that they claim there's no health effects associated with this, but anybody with some common sense realizes and knows that if you don't get ample sleep, it does affect your health negatively. I'm not really interested in being a lab rat, but these things are planted on top of us, so I really have no choice. So I'm either here till they kill me, I die, or we move. But we have built our home here, and this is where we had every intention of retiring, and it has completely ruined our hopes and dreams of retiring here peacefully and quietly. So that's really all I have to say. I just want you to know that there's all kinds of peer-reviewed studies from around the world as well of the negative impacts of wind turbines, and I hope that you do take the time to look into those as well.
Okay,
thank you all, and you have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Ryan.
One person at a time. I need someone to mute themselves. Okay. All right. Who's at 515-250-8450?
That's me. How do I unmute myself?
I muted you.
Okay, there you go.
Next, Jesse Stimson.
Oh, hey, Jesse Stimson here. I'm just kind of curious, is the agenda put out before these meetings for other health board members to see what's gonna be discussed? Does that make sense? Well, I guess we've had 2 of these major meetings for turbine things, and how many health board members have been absent both of these meetings, and it's maybe a little bit frustrating when it's a major issue to have half the board gone, and because we're really relying on the health board to an extent to somewhat maybe come up to a conclusion on this issue and maybe help us here. But if half the board is gone for these big meetings, that's a real problem. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jesse. I think we feel that frustration also. Okay, who's next?
This is Ryan Yurkowski. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'd kind of, I guess, piggyback on what Jesse had just left on, is I don't think that the board members are taking this issue seriously. I had one board member, I'm getting an echo. Is it echoing on your end? There you go, maybe. I had one board member out of 5 agree to take the time and go to people's homes and experience this firsthand. I wish it would have been before tonight's meeting, but it's not scheduled until Thursday, the 18th. All board members have been handed folders and been given names and phone numbers of people that said they were willing to have our Board of Health come to their homes and experience this firsthand. Yet in 2 months, not one of those people were reached out to. This is an issue that's going to affect us for generations to come. It should be taken as serious as you all did COVID. Dr. Ben Johnson spoke in January how it causes sleep deprivation, stress, and the combination of those is it leads to heart disease. If you're not going to take this issue seriously, then with all respect, I ask you to step down from the board, because this issue affects the health of our county for the next 50 years. Tonight's meeting also shows me, in my opinion, that the board is biased. Why is there only speakers from the turbine companies or from the pro-wind side? Why wasn't, if your board is unbiased and they asked to be on the agenda to give it an unbiased opinion, I would have thought you guys would have reached out to hear the other side of the issue in equal representation. And then the speakers, I just jumped on, so I might have missed. I don't know if Peter has spoke yet, but my question to Peter and whoever else tonight is, are you guys compensated in any way for doing this or speaking? I'm going to leave that open, and then I want to follow up after they answer that question.
Yeah, this is Jonna. Can you guys hear me? Do we? Yeah. So, are we able to respond right now with any of this, or should we wait till the end? Or
You can go ahead.
so, I apologize that you feel that way. I think that we've spent quite a bit of time over the last year, probably anyway, going through lots of paperwork, going through lots of studies, listening to lots of sides. I don't feel that we've been biased. I think if you look back in the records, you would see that we've had people from both sides of the playing field on, and we've tried to give everybody ample opportunity to listen to their concerns, to truly take them in. So I'm sorry that you feel that way. As far as like going out to see different wind turbines, I think many of us have done it on our own. I know I was given the opportunity to come out with you next week and didn't feel that I needed to, just because I've been there. So I apologize.
You've been in the homes of people that have experiencing this issues, Jonna?
I've been in the homes of people that both own or live by wind turbines.
Thank you for taking the time to do that.
You're welcome. It's just sometimes it fits kind of on a different time scale as to when I have the ability to do it. So it's not necessary that, that I didn't want to come to this specific one. It's just that it's when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with Joan. I think that we're doing our best to try and accommodate with all that's going on right now. You said we need to take this as serious as we take COVID. I mean, obviously we're all taking COVID very seriously, and schedules are very limited just because of the accessibility to different things. And I do have one concern about something you said, Ryan, that I think I need to feel better about. You said each of us board members were handed a folder with a list of all this stuff. When was that done? I don't recall a folder being handed to me.
Yeah, there was, and someone else, Jesse or someone else that's on I think Jane Stimpson was there. It was the meeting that was held in Shenandoah that we were present at. And then I think there was 5 folders made up for all board members, several thousand pages or several hundred pages. And then I think that whole entire folder was also emailed out to everyone. So, but I didn't personally hand them, but I know they were handed out. So someone can maybe pick up on that.
Jess, was that something we got emailed to us? You're muted, Jess.
I don't remember an email. I remember a folder, but I don't know if that was at a Board of Health meeting or a Board of Supervisor meeting. But that was, Ryan, are you talking like maybe even a year ago or so?
Yeah, in March, it was physically handed to all board members, and the board members that weren't present, it was supposed to be handed out to them.
Okay, so you're talking last year. Okay, got it.
We did get that, and it was honestly right when the COVID bomb dropped.
Yeah, now I remember. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to say something too. All of us, I feel like, have done due diligence, and all of us are kind of heartbroken over this whole situation. I know I am, because it's very difficult on both sides, to be honest. The one thing that I wanted to say though is that we don't necessarily invite people to come to our meetings. Everybody is welcome. It's a public meeting. And so when you say that we're biased, that's really not the case. If you look back, I think we've probably had just as many people that support the wind turbines, and the people that are here that are to refute, or whatever you want to say on the other side, they're here at their own will. We didn't necessarily invite people to come. We're very glad people are here to help us sort through this information. This is definitely not something I would say that any of us know a lot about. So we thank both sides for helping us out with this, but we're not making invitations, I guess. So I don't want you to feel like we're trying to like bolster one side versus the other, because that's really not the case.
Okay, does anyone else have comment?
Yes, my name's Murray Thornton, and we live over in Bedford, and we're in the middle of 4 turbines where they've put them around our house. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, they put 4 turbines around our house, and probably the furthest one away out of the 4 is a half a mile. The other ones are anywhere from 15 to 1,800 feet away from our house. And I kind of got dropped off here a little bit earlier, and I didn't get to hear what the first lady was saying. But in our experience of this is that I'm usually a fairly heavy sleeper. And I usually wake up anywhere from 3:30 to 4:30 every morning, almost every morning, whenever the things are running and the wind's out of the right direction, and it wakes you up out of your sleep. And it gets to the point where, you know, we kind of had anxiety when they were putting these things up. We were never asked about them. We didn't know that they were even really truly going in or where they were going in until they started building them. And so with that being said, yes, it's caused us a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of anxiety. You know, we went to our board of supervisors before they put them in here, and there was quite a few people there that obviously were against these things. And I'm kind of a person that kind of, you know, will give it the benefit of the doubt, you know, and try to, you know, you can read anything you want to off the internet if you want to look hard enough and try to find something about either side of this. But now that we've experienced it, I can tell you it's not a good deal. We've contacted an attorney, talked to him about it. I would suggest maybe that you as a board would maybe reach out to an attorney who's dealing with a lot of this and find out kind of what's going on with some of these things. I would strongly suggest you do that. They kind of went around our backs doing this too. First of all, Mid-American came in here and they had another company hired, and they came through. They found out where all the absentee landowners that own property up through here in Taylor County, and they had approached them first. And then after they approached them and got them to sign on, then they started going around to the landowners, maybe not somebody that lives around them, but the landowners, and then said, well, your neighbors have signed on. Aren't you going to sign on? So obviously we've got tons of windmills around our house. It's not going to lower my property values. It devalued my home probably by 30% because there is nobody that's going to want to move here. You know, you'd have to find a person that wouldn't care about it. We haven't gotten any compensation whatsoever. They've sent us a letter to try to compensate us for it. But that letter, in my opinion, was a letter just simply to hush us. Talk to some other people that I know that have over in the Lenox area. And I know of one individual that Mid-American actually bought their home because they had raised so much havoc with them about it. And then they're not allowed to say anything once this all happens either. They have to sign and it would be the same. They did offer us some compensation, not nearly enough again, but then we can't say anything bad about them. We can never, if they find out that it causes some other kind of health concern, you're on your own. You can't sue them once you sign that paper, and you're just out of luck at that point. I would suggest also that the farmers maybe read the contracts that they're giving them. I've talked to 2 different farmers in my area, and I asked them, I said, did you read the contract that they gave you? They said, no. Do you know how thick it is? They didn't even read the contract. The only thing they were interested in was the money. And the sad part about this is this really isn't about the environment necessarily, in my opinion. It's more about the money. If it wasn't for the money that the county was getting, would you guys do it? That would be my question. And it pits neighbors against neighbors. I mean, I've got a whole list of things that we've experienced. My road is jacked up still. They don't have it fixed. The county said, well, we'll come back through and fix it. They haven't ever came. So, but I don't know. Like I said, you guys need to look really hard and long at what's going on with this. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Murray. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck, this is Jacob Holmes.
Hey,
I'm just curious if there's any way we can follow the speaker tonight with comment before you move on your moratorium request, or come back after that. It's gonna be kind of hard to know what is said and what might need to be said in public comment before you would make your.
I feel like you would make the decision whether or not something needs to be said, so we can do that. I would ask, however, and I appreciate everyone's, like I've said numerous meetings, I appreciate the passion on both sides, and I appreciate all the comments. There are a lot of comments that aren't related to the environment and whatnot, as far as the health side goes. I would ask that those be limited, just because that's just not our realm. That's for the supervisors meetings. But if they're related to health, by all means, we'll listen to them. So if no one else has got a comment, then we can move on and have Dr. Thorne give his presentation, and then we can come back and see if there's any comment after that.
Jesse, it looks like Ronnie Scott has her hand up.
Yep.
I can go ahead and wait until after Mr. or Dr. Thorne speaks.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Thorne, you want to go ahead and talk?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks a lot for allowing me to speak. So as you know, my name is Peter Thorne, and I just introduced myself. I'm the professor and head of the Department of Occupational and Environmental Health at the University of Iowa's College of Public Health. I teach courses on toxicology, environmental health, and climate change. And my research is funded by the National Institutes of Health and the Center for Disease Control. I have no affiliation with and receive no funding from the wind energy sector or any energy sector. To answer the question posed by Mr. Urkowski, I receive no compensation for talking with you. I have no financial interest in the wind energy system, although I've studied wind and solar power for decades. I've been to wind turbines in the Netherlands, Denmark, the United States, and elsewhere around the world. So in my time with you today, which is very limited, I want to make several points. First of all, there's no scientific evidence that infrasound from wind turbines causes health effects such as hearing loss, sleep disturbance, stress, or other health outcomes. And I'll say more about that in a minute. Wind turbines are an annoyance to some people, and the literature suggests that this is primarily related to their views on the placement of wind farms and issues having to do with view sheds. And so the question then arises, what can setbacks tell us about this? Third, I applaud you for involving the public and public health experts in this discussion. It's a very difficult one to have, and it's important that those views be part of the decision-making process. The other point I make is that wind turbines are a safe, renewable energy alternative to fossil fuel power plants. And so we have to bear in mind that fossil fuel fired power plants cause a lot of air pollution, and they cause lung disease, cardiovascular disease, and premature death. So when we look at powering the needs of the US, we have to consider what are the alternatives. Are we going to go with renewables, or are we going to go with fossil fuels? And so that's our discussion. And when you're weighing the costs and benefits from a health standpoint, you have to keep those in mind. So the expansion of renewable energy has helped us reduce exposure to dangerous air pollutants from fossil fuels. Millions of people die each year from lung and cardiovascular disease in countries that have bad air pollution. And in many places, it's getting worse. But in the US, it's getting better because we're moving more to renewables. We've improved our air quality and the health of the public as we've made this transition in our energy sector away from fossil fuel power plants to solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and other sources. The other thing I noticed that manufacture, installation, and maintenance of wind turbines has produced about 15,000 jobs in Iowa at a time when we need employment. And so that's another benefit. That Iowa and the Midwest region of the US in particular are really great for power generation. So, but as a public health professional, I spend my time thinking a lot about safety and safety to the public. So what are the safety issues with wind turbines? Well, we need to make sure that those who work on them, the occupationally exposed people, that they do so safely, that they're properly trained and outfitted. And we need to site turbines with setbacks that provide an ample margin of safety from two standpoints. One is if a tower or a blade were to fail, we have to make sure that no one will be hurt by that. And then we have to make sure that people are not going to be exposed to excessive noise or vibration. So a couple of years ago, the Iowa Environmental Council asked me to look into the question of potential health effects from wind turbine noise. And I was happy to do this as a public service. Not for any compensation, as I said earlier. So I conducted a search of the peer-reviewed published scientific literature using resources from the National Library of Medicine, the World Health Organization, and peer-reviewed, credible, high-caliber scientific literature. And in addition to these trustworthy sources of scientific information, you can peruse the web and find any number of articles or non-peer-reviewed sources that are not authoritative and that are authored often by people who lack expertise, and there are false claims on the internet that have been promoted by folks who have conflicts of interest. So it's a real minefield to look at anything other than the peer-reviewed scientific literature. And so that's what we rely upon, because we need to know the sources, the extent of the peer review, the quality of the science, and these are the things that give us the information to weigh the credibility of the science. So in my study of the literature, three major peer-reviewed publications stood out. They were written by teams of noted experts in environmental health sciences and were subject to independent scrutiny by experts who are not affiliated with the authors, nor affiliated with any industry. These included the Council of Canadian Academies, which is like the National Academy of Sciences in the US. The second was a group of authors from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And the third was a 2018 expert consensus report from the World Health Organization, populated mostly by academics from Europe. And so to review what these three authoritative sources reviewed and discovered is that they said that there was clear evidence that wind turbines do not cause hearing loss. And that was a very strong consensus. They found limited evidence for a causal relationship between wind turbine noise and sleep disturbance. So by limited evidence, that means there were very few authoritative studies that found any evidence of wind turbine noise causing sleep disturbance. And they found inadequate evidence to establish a link between wind turbine noise and stress or other adverse health outcomes. So although the expert panel found no clear link between wind turbines and disease or sleep disturbance, they did find sufficient evidence of a link to annoyance. And so this is where things get tricky, because annoyance, some would regard as a health outcome and others would regard it as something less than that. They could not establish if the annoyance was a result of personal attitudes towards turbines or concerns about viewshed issues or something else. The World Health Organization report found no studies that linked wind turbine noise to heart disease, hypertension, hearing impairment, or reading and oral comprehension skills in children. They further found no evidence of a relationship between wind turbine noise and measures of cognitive impairment, hearing impairment, tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, and adverse birth outcomes. So predominantly negative findings or just lack of any evidence from high quality peer-reviewed studies. Then regarding sleep disturbance, the World Health Organization report found that 6 studies were available, and they said, quote, they did not reveal consistent results about effects of wind turbine noise on sleep. And further, effects on sleep were measured by self-reported data, so they concluded the risk of bias was high for all 6 of those studies. So based on the low quality and heterogeneous nature of that evidence, they were not able to formulate any recommendation addressing sleep disturbance due to wind turbine noise. So what that leaves us with is the problem that we have people like the woman from Adair, whose name I didn't catch, and Mr. Thornton, who will come and say, well, you know, it's disturbing our sleep. We have these problems, but yet the entire peer-reviewed literature of high-quality studies that are done by very reputable scientists can't conclude that that is the effect. So maybe it comes down to setbacks. So let me say something about setbacks, just to conclude here. What are the appropriate setbacks for turbines? It's possible for a tower or a blade to collapse and fall to the ground. And so to prevent injuries from that, a typical setback would be 1.5 times the height of the tower plus the blade. So for a 2 megawatt turbine, that'd be about 600 feet. Now, 600 feet is not much of a setback at all, but that's what you would need. Most people would agree to protect against that kind of a problem. With regard to wind turbine noise, a 2015 well-done peer-reviewed study was published in Frontiers of Public Health, measured outdoor full spectrum noise levels and low frequency noise at homes that were at various distances from 1.5 megawatt wind turbines on a 40 turbine wind farm. And they measured the noise levels at the homes when there was 2 different wind speeds and when the turbines were spinning or when they were not turning at all, when they were turned off due to maintenance. And at a distance of 1,600 feet and further, there was no difference in broad spectrum noise or low frequency noise, whether the turbines were turned on or off. So that would suggest a setback of 1,600 feet or 1/3 of a mile is sufficient from the standpoint of avoiding noise annoyance. So they could not detect any difference in the sound level, whether they were turned on and spinning or off at 1,600 feet. So I think that from the standpoint of annoyance from wind turbine, a setback of 1,600 feet or more, the scientific evidence would suggest would be protective. So to summarize then, the evidence, no evidence that wind turbines cause disease or trigger seizures or cause hearing loss or stress. And I think that is very, very clear. Published research does not provide consistent results about whether or not noise from wind farms affects sleep, and this might have to do with setbacks. While wind turbines are an annoyance to people, and that's, I think, pretty clear, it relates to issues of contracts, placement, setbacks, and view sheds. And then lastly, wind turbines we have to remember, are a safe, renewable energy alternative to fossil fuel generation. So they bring health benefits from that outweigh any risks on the side from wind, solar, geothermal, and hydro. And so I'll conclude there. My time is up, and I'm happy to address any questions that you might have.
Dr. Thorne, your last comment there, is there something published that actually states that, or is that your opinion? For my clarity.
Nothing here is my opinion. It's all based on the peer-reviewed literature and the 4 sources that I cited.
So in that literature, it does talk about the non-renewable or the renewable energy being a safety factor that we need to take into consideration over some of the concerns that are raised by citizens.
I'm sorry. Yeah, one of the words you said dropped out. You're asking me about renewables compared to fossil fuel?
Yeah, I'm just asking if there's, in the studies that you cited, if there's a comment in there or something that shows that where they're saying that that's more beneficial than the concerns raised, about fossil fuels.
The studies,
what is it showing for the two?
Yeah, good question. Let me clarify that. I study air pollution a lot, and so I know very well the data on the risks of air pollution. I was the chair of the EPA Science Advisory Board for 2 years and on the board for 6 years, so I know that data very well. So that statement was my own, and it's based on comparing the air pollution mortality and morbidity data to data from renewable energy sources. Thanks for letting me clarify that.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, Doctor. I have a quick question.
Yes.
I think the study that you mentioned about setbacks, you were talking about a 1.5 megawatt tower. Am I correct in thinking that the towers we have around here are bigger than that?
I can't speak to the height of the towers that you have. I look up data for 2 megawatt towers and I calculate based on that 1.5 times would be the 600 that I mentioned. If you have bigger wind turbines than 2 megawatt, then you're going to have a taller tower, and you'll need more setback to get that, to ensure safety, having association with losing a blade or a tower collapse.
But there's no study that you're aware of in relationship to a bigger tower with the sleep disturbance. The one you said it was 1,600.
Yes.
It didn't matter if it was on or off.
Yeah, that particular study was for 1.5 megawatt, 40 wind turbines on a wind farm. I'm not aware that study has been replicated anywhere with larger powered turbines. Okay. That would be an important thing to do.
Thanks for taking the time to talk with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to do so.
Okay, I have another question, but I don't know if you're the right person to answer, or I was kind of hoping that maybe I could have got an answer from Dr. Johnson when he talked to one of the meetings earlier, but I don't feel like I got a locked in answer. So I'm a huge proponent of the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think if you have some folks that say that there's, some disturbance issues or, noises, whatever it may be, the lights, the noises, the whatever, then there's some potential issue there that we need to look at. One of the things I'm sadly disappointed with when Dr. Johnson talked with us was that the information that he gave us was from a paper that he wrote, but I don't believe it was ever published. But it kind of fell short of one thing that I was really, the smoking gun, if you will. I know that there's studies out there that show noise effects on heart or noise effects on, migraines, post-traumatic stress, and different things like that. It doesn't link directly to saying that the wind turbine caused the noise that caused this issue, which is noise in general. And I don't see those being addressed. It's more so the defense of nothing has shown that the noise that's created by these items caused any of that. And that's a concern to me because I don't think we're going the extra mile to actually answer that question. So I don't know. I don't know if you have anything or if you've seen anything that, I know you've talked about the noise issue, but it doesn't really go to that extent.
So the WHO study I spoke to talked about and addressed aircraft noise, people living near airports. It addressed traffic noise, other types of noise. And typically, you know, that noise is up in the 80 to 100 dB on the A scale, decibels on the A scale, higher levels of noise. And there you do start to see some adverse effects. The wind turbine, they actually, in that report, suggest that 45 decibels is a level where you don't have any of these effects. And so we can measure at a given residence, and it's important to measure both the low frequency and broad spectrum sound levels, and then determine what a proper setback should be. Or if somebody is claiming that they have excessive noise exposure and seeking compensation, I imagine one could measure their exposure and decide whether that's it. The other part of this is that there are other cases where people are annoyed because of something. Maybe they get in a fight with a neighbor. Somebody mentioned, you know, earlier, neighbor against neighbor issues. There have been cases where people are angry about something, and that annoyance causes them to lose sleep. And when they are chronically sleep deprived, there's no question that that has adverse health consequences. So the question before us, though, is that being caused by the noise from the wind turbine, or is it caused by something else? And there have been some studies done on that, where two different studies were done, and this gets a little bit into the weeds, but I can just briefly mention it, that people were shown a video that cast the wind energy in a very negative light, claiming that there were all kinds of problems with health. And then they were asked about their impressions of the noise they heard when they were played sound that represented wind turbine. And some got no noise at all, it was complete silence, and others got wind turbine noise. And they couldn't tell the difference, but the ones who said that, who had seen the video casting the wind energy issue in negative light, claimed to have heard wind turbine noise and that it annoyed them even when they got complete silence. So that's called the nocebo effect. It's like a placebo, where just the being fed information that it's bad for you leads you to suspect that you're hearing something that's bad. Now, that might be pertaining to some people. I don't want to, you know, impugn Mr. Thornton or others who have problems from this, but it's a complex issue, and separating annoyance, the causes of annoyance from one source versus, say, noise is a challenging issue in this wind turbine debate. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, no, and I've seen that, and I appreciate you reiterating it, just so it spells it out a little clearer for me.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead and speak?
Hold on one second, please. Dr. Babe or Joan, or I see Tish is on now. Do you guys have any questions for Dr. Thorne?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much for your information today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ronnie Scott.
Yeah, I am Ronnie Scott. I'm from Madison County. I'm a former member of the Madison County Board of Health. I was not at the meeting when they did their resolution. But Chuck, I kind of wanted to go back and answer your question about the cardiac issues. Mr. Thorne, Dr. Thorne, pardon me, talked about he was not aware of any studies that had shown that the low frequency noise from wind turbines could cause any cardiac issues. There is a pretty popular study from Branco and Alves Pereira in Portugal at the on an aircraft mechanics. It was the effects of low frequency noise in that environment that did cause cardiac issues. And my take on that is low frequency noise does thicken the cardiac wall because it's like a pounding on the body, and people in and around wind turbines will say that they don't hear the noise from the wind turbines, but they feel it. And that's generally the low frequency noise that you cannot hear. And that can cause vibrations on the heart, and it can cause damage to the cardiac muscle.
Ronnie, is there a I'm assuming there's a decibel number to that low frequency?
Usually it's 20 and below. And that's another thing with low frequency noise. It cannot be measured using the A-weighted decibels that the wind turbines use. It has to be either C or G. So you have to specifically be using something that can measure low frequency noise. Otherwise, they say, well, the decibels are low, it's 40 or whatever, and it's dBA and there's no problems. But it's that low frequency noise that causes most of the problems with people.
I think you said 20 dB. I think you meant 20 hertz.
I did mean 20 hertz. Thank you, Dr. Thorne.
Sure.
Yeah, 20 hertz. And I'm not sure about the dBc. I don't have it in front of me now. It might be 45. I'm not sure, but I do know the weighting has to be different to measure low frequency noise.
That's correct.
Has there been any lawsuits in the U.S. that used this information to win a judgment or to overturn setbacks or anything else with wind turbines?
I am not aware of any. Yeah.
Have there been any other studies in the United States that look at this and the effects of the wind turbine with this low hertz?
Low frequency noise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. There have been many studies. The one that I found happened to be the Portugal one that proved about the results of low frequency noise. But I am not aware of other direct studies on low frequency noise caused by turbines where there's a lawsuit.
Okay.
I don't know.
So may I just say something quickly? I was referring to studies of wind turbines and effects to neighbors. I wasn't saying that there's no case of occupational exposure to, high pressure noise levels that cause this or that. I was only talking about wind turbine noise.
Right. And
there
I'm
are all
trying
kinds of examples of occupational exposures that cause to ultra low frequency or very high sound pressure levels that can cause adverse health effects. I wasn't discounting that.
Yeah. So this is where I'm torn. I don't know that either side has presented yay or nay that answers that question for me. And again, where there's smoke, I believe there's fire usually.
I guess I'm saying low frequency noise to me is low frequency noise, no matter what is causing it. Now, these people in Portugal, you have to remember, they only worked at this aircraft as an aircraft mechanic 8 hours a day. They got to go home. People who live around turbines don't get to go home. They're home and they're exposed to it. So they have a greater exposure window, if you will, on a day-to-day basis. It's not like 8 hours and then home. So.
Ronnie, is this have you given us this study? Because I know we've heard a lot about studies, but I haven't actually seen.
I've seen this one. Now that she brings that up, it's the Venezuela. I've read it.
Was it referred to, or did we see the study?
I've actually seen it. I don't know if I pulled it myself or if it was one because we've had so many given to us.
Yeah, because I'd like to know, how many people were involved in the study? What was the quality of the study? What were the other variables that were looked at? These guys were at work 8 hours out of the day. What are they doing the rest of the time? I mean, just because there's studies out there that say this is right or wrong, you also have to look at the study itself. So,
right. And this is an observant from a doctor who worked at this aircraft area. I don't know. It was mechanics that worked on aircraft engineer, and he saw a lot of the disturbances with the men, because it was only men that was working there. And he and this other, his assistant, Dr. Alves Pereira, they wrote a paper based on their observances. It wasn't like people volunteered to be part of a study. They're just saying, gosh, this happened to this guy. One guy actually contacted Dr. Bronco and said, meet me at the hospital, I'm going to die today. And he said, no, you're not going to die today.
I do remember this. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not a controlled or looking at other variables. It's based on personal opinion.
And well, not personal opinion. Alves Pereira has repeated this in mice. You know, she has done studies on the harm that low frequency noise can cause. And she has shown the cardiac muscle being thickened because of that. And that's just one point I wanted to make. If I could go back, some just common sense things.
Can I say one thing before you go on, please? So looking back at that study, I do just also want to point out that the parameters for the Portugal study the noise is much different than what you would get from a wind turbine. It's a lot louder.
The noise, yeah, the low frequency noise can be the same.
Mechanic plant, so.
Yeah, the noise that you hear is much different. Although Tanya Lamb would tell you that it sounds like jet engines at her house around the wind turbines where she lives, because she has mentioned that to me before. But as far as, finding peer-reviewed articles of things like this, the Madison County Board of Health has, I don't know if you have their thumb drive, where they have probably 1,000 to 1,500 pages of peer-reviewed articles that actually just say the opposite, and they show the harm that the wind turbines cause. What I also wanted to say that is wherever the wind turbines show up, whether it's New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Spain, United States, they show up and people start having adverse health effects, whether it's the nocebo effect or not. But it's pretty, I guess, telling that people who don't know one another, the wind turbines come in, they start having adverse health effects. Australia, it happens. Germany, it happens. All of these different countries, people don't know each other. They're not calling each other on the phone and plotting or anything. This is what started, because to be quite honest, when I moved to Madison County, it's windy here. And I even thought, man, if they could harness this wind, that would be great. And it's still a good idea. The problem is these big blades, these turbines causing this low frequency noise. And that's just human health. You're talking about bats being killed by it, eagles being killed by it, migratory birds being killed, those types of issues too, which we haven't talked about. And then Dr. Thorne mentioned sleep deprivation. The wind turbine people like to call that annoyance, but the Geneva Convention calls it torture. So what's annoyance and what is really an adverse health effect is, sleep deprivation can cause all kinds of issues.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service said that cats kill 2.4 billion birds per year, and wind turbines kill 234,000. So
cats kill eagles? Do cats kill migratory birds?
I'm just putting it out there that
they kill
collisions with buildings and cars and cats and poisonings kill far more birds than wind turbines, and that's well understood. So that's kind of a red herring, I think.
Except I'm talking migratory birds and eagles. It's illegal to kill an eagle, but yet the wind turbine the industry, applies for takes to kill 24,000 more or whatever the number is, eagles, which if I kill an eagle, that's an offense, but they get permission because of these wind turbines. I also wanted to bring up another. Oh, the setbacks. The safety zone for the turbines, and I'm not sure which one it is. I don't think it's the 500 one. It's lower than that. The safety zone for workers is 1,640 feet. That's the range that a worker can only stay that close to a turbine within his 8-hour shift, and he has to leave. Yet the wind industry is putting turbines closer to homes, so they are living 24 hours a day within that safety zone that their own workers are not allowed to be in for longer than 8 hours. So that's another consideration with the wind blades, the falling, if it would fall, whatever the safety zone is. And I found that was interesting, that their own industry says that their own people can't stay within a certain range of the turbine for more than 8 hours. But humans live there 24 hours a day.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all that I had. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't. Anyone else?
Do you know if you have that thumb drive from the Madison County Board of Health?
Jess?
Was it ever given to you?
Nope, I don't have a thumb drive.
Okay, because I can certainly get it to you if you wanted it. I don't know if you're making your decision tonight or not.
Okay, well, the rest of the board. So next on our agenda is the moratorium request. What are your guys', now there's 4 of us. I'm saying anyone?
I feel for both sides greatly, and this is very difficult, and I wouldn't necessarily want one of these things in my view because it would annoy the heck out of me, but I don't see, given the literature that I have seen, I don't see the evidence for us to say that I feel like it's a health hazard. That's my opinion.
Jonah?
Doesn't mean that that's not coming up in the future, but right now I can't find it.
Sorry, I did have to step away for just 2 seconds. I'm back. Are we talking about the moratorium now?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that we've spent a lot of time reviewing this. And it is a very difficult decision to make. So I had to kind of block everything else out and look at just health issues here and look at what we as a public health group can actually make commentary on. And I don't feel at this point that I see enough information to put a moratorium on it.
Okay. Tish? You're muted, Tish.
Now can you hear me?
Could I cut in here real quick?
Can we let us go through the board here real quick?
Okay.
Go ahead, Tish.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that I was wondering about, and I don't know, maybe there's something out there and I haven't seen it, but you know, all these fields, and there's always these farm animals in all these fields. Is there anything stating that they have created health issues or more problems for the animals that could be possibly something that could endanger humans alike?
That's a good question. I don't know that we've got an answer for that.
Otherwise, I don't really feel I have enough information to make a good decision for the health and safety of a lot of people right now, based on what we've gotten. And, you know, there was something that was just put out by the state of Ohio about them being endangered because they had to be at least 3,200 feet away, a setback based on lightning, and those blades would explode, and how far they can travel and fall and do dangerous things. Seems like every time I turn around, there's something new about them. Not yet definitive as to who's doing the study or if more needs to be done, but it gets kind of scary. And I also know that, with arthritis and things, any stress can make that worse. And sometimes those little things that irritate that you don't think are really a stress factor over a period of time can do a lot of damage. It's probably not I don't think they've been out long enough to really make some definitive studies on some of these things either. 20 years from now, yeah, we probably will know some of these things. But well, anyway, that's just my opinion.
And for myself, like I said, I think where there's smoke, there's probably fire. I think that it, in my opinion, could warrant a moratorium while we look deeper. However, I do not think, after listening to my partners here, and I highly respect their knowledge base, it's way higher than mine. I think that I don't know that having that moratorium in place is going to change their minds, or give new information that would do so. And knowing that I'm behind 3-1, I won't even go down that path. But again, I do think I definitely think there's some potential land right issues that really fuel this. But and aesthetics, I think that's another issue. As my daughter said, if we can have them painted as flowers, maybe that would change something. I don't know, but I just think if people are feeling like there's something going on and it's causing some issues, I do think it's worth looking deeper at. I don't know how that would be done or where that would be done, but that's my opinion on the issue. All right, Jacob, was that you that stepped in?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Get some echo out of here. What Trish brought up on the lightning is my whole point. You can talk about a lot of studies, but that's a Nordex 2018 Nordex safety manual that requires, that's probably what they base that on. It requires a 3,280 feet setback for any workers. And in the event of any lightning scene, are supposed to get back until 1 hour after lightning has stopped, after the storm is over. So that's pretty basic. Getting struck by lightning is pretty serious adverse health effect. I think on that alone, that's in their manual for the people building that brand of wind turbine. It's something pretty serious to consider, putting that under people. And the board members that are not wanting to take this up, I would just caution that means that they're putting their stamp on 1,500 feet. A moratorium is to study more. I mean, if you've made your mind up and you feel like 1,500 feet is adequate, then that's fine. But that is to stamp approval that is safe. And I'm not a doctor, but lightning, pretty serious adverse health effect. And that's for their workers. That's all I want to add. I did also see that. And the manual, I could send you the page of their manual this evening if somebody put their email in the chat box. That's all I have to say on that.
Jacob, I don't necessarily think I need to see the manual. After the last meeting, I tried to dig really hard to figure out. I was trying to figure out basically how far electricity would conduct in the ground if it struck a tower or another object, and I couldn't find anything very definitive on that. What I did find though was that based on the density and the wetness, and if it was rocky versus solid, that typically dissipated, the ground current dissipated very quickly. So I don't know why that's in their manual. I'm not defending it or condoning it either way, but I did try very hard to find something about that, just the chemistry of it or the physics of it.
But if they went to the trouble to print it in their manual, they probably have some serious science and lawyers and liability. I imagine there's a reason it's in there. That wouldn't be something you'd want to put in the manual for the public to see. I just think that's getting down to the bare bones simple adverse health effects, not complex or placebo.
Jacob, again, I say where there's smoke, there's fire, but I have to point out there's also warning things on toasters that say don't bathe with them. So
right, I agree with that, but that's a pretty serious warning.
I don't know the answer. I know lightning travels through different types of ground and, sand versus stone versus dirt versus, but I don't know those answers either.
I just think it's a pretty simple thing to start with. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something? Am I talking?
We can hear you. Who is this?
I didn't hear it.
Hello?
Definitive no from Dick. I mean,
Kaylin, we can't hear. Kaylin, we
Is that
can't hear.
Kaylin? S48C. Who is that?
That's Kaylin.
Okay, Kaylin, go ahead. We're waiting on you.
I'm talking. Can you hear me now?
Get closer to the mic.
I don't know which mic to talk into. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
I didn't hear a definitive no from Tish. Are you sure that it's a 3-1 vote? Because I didn't hear a definitive 3-1 vote there.
Tish, you want to clarify?
Sure. My position was I felt like I didn't have enough information yet to make a good decision for as many people that could be involved. I would like a little bit more information. Does that clarify?
No, it doesn't really clarify anything. What don't you have enough information from both sides? From our side? I mean, I would like to point out that you have a whole bunch of people here that have everything to lose and nothing to gain. And I would like to ask this doctor who invited it. Who invited it? Why does he care about Page County? Why? Who invited him? And we've got a lot of people that have worked real hard on this, because you're talking about a 50-year decision for the county-wide, and you're talking about people raising families and everything else. So I feel like you got a lot of people here that, I mean, they really stand to gain nothing. And then you've got somebody here that your doctor, I don't know who, and I'd like to know who invited him. Can I ask him that? Who invited him?
I'm happy to answer.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay, so first of all, why Page County? Why do I care? Well, I travel all over during non-COVID times to various places in Iowa to deal with issues having to do with air pollution, water pollution, soil, anything that has to do with public health, because I'm a public servant, and that's what public servants do. The reason I'm speaking here tonight when I could be eating dinner is because I'm a University of Iowa faculty member, and we serve the public, and this is my way of serving the public. The way I got on this agenda is that the Iowa Environmental Council suggested me as a potential speaker, and the Board of Health was kind enough to give me 10 minutes time to speak. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Okay, so you were invited by the Iowa Environmental Council, right?
No, I was invited by the Board of Health. I was allotted the 10 minutes by the Board of Health, and the arrangement for that was made by someone from Iowa Environmental Council.
So the Iowa Environmental Council is actually who? I mean, did the Board of Health, Chuck, did you call him and ask him to speak tonight?
I don't.
Did the Iowa Board of Health call?
I do not establish the agenda, so we'd have to get Jess's.
Okay.
Jess?
So I guess my question is what does the Iowa, what do you call it? The Iowa Environmental Council, maybe we ought to look into what they have to gain by him speaking here tonight, because about everybody on the phone tonight has nothing to gain and pretty much everything to lose.
So I can tell you what I know, that Iowa Environmental Council is a nonprofit that helps the state of Iowa work through environmental issues of all sorts. It's a public service entity, non-for-profit.
But where do they get their money?
They have some money from foundations, nonprofit foundations. You can look online, sir, and I'm sure all their funding information is there.
got a good idea where it's coming from.
So I think the other part of this is to look at, and we've got Jacob, and I think Chuck Morris is on here. I don't know if Alan, I don't see Alan on here. Chuck, are you on? Jacob, are you on?
Yeah, Chuck, I'm here, and I'd just like to thank everybody for taking time. Dr. Thorne, thank you for taking time as a public servant. All the folks that are deeply concerned and interested in the outcome of this, thank you for your input. I know that you have struggled as a Board of Public Health to do a wonderful job with COVID. This has been probably the most challenging year on record. And for folks to say you haven't taken enough time or done enough study, to me is offensive, because you've done a marvelous job taking in lots of data and listening to a lot of folks. And I thank you for that. I think to Chuck's point, the question that is before you does relate to the human health. Obviously, wind turbine discussions can get emotional. Folks are deeply invested in how they feel about turbines, both for and against. But the realm of your duty here is to look at the public health concerns. And I appreciate your time and your effort multiple times on this topic during your most challenging year. And we thank you for your COVID efforts, of course. But that's all I have to say. And I'll just sit and listen to what your vote comes out to be.
Okay, so Chuck and Jacob, please help me with this. Just I'm again, my level of intelligence isn't always the greatest, but if this board were to have to vote positive for a moratorium, what is the next step for that?
If you were to vote positive for a moratorium, it would come before our board for consideration as to whether we would accept a moratorium at this point or not. I think that as we've been reading and have been advised by our attorney, seeing what's going on in Madison County, doing a moratorium now is probably more difficult for me, but I can't speak for Jacob. I can't speak for the other board, but that's the procedure. If you were to vote for a moratorium, it would come to our table for discussion, and we would take a look at your recommendation very seriously either way.
All right, since
Chuck.
Yeah.
Dr. Nordyke, I would like to ask one more. I would like to ask you one more question. This is Kalen Fulk. This is Kalen Fulk. I have a very reliable source that has told me multiple times that the Board of Health was threatened a lawsuit by a Board of Supervisor meeting after a certain meeting if the Board of Health made a recommendation on these wind turbines. Can you clarify?
I cannot clarify. I think that Chuck kind of just said that they've had legal counsel and kind of gave them some direction on what would happen if we did put it through. However, I do think, and the rest of the board members, please correct me here if you feel I'm wrong. We have on the agenda a wind turbine moratorium request. I think that we need to vote on this instead of kicking the can down the road. And this is kind of not the normal procedure since I'm the chair. I will move to place a moratorium on wind turbines for Page County while we investigate the setbacks and the health impact further, just so that my opinion's out there. And then I would ask that the three of you vote, and we can kind of go from there.
This is Ashley Yarkowski. Can I say something?
We've got a motion on the table, so hold tight for a second. Is there a second on my motion? Okay, hearing no second, then I guess my motion will fall. And then there will be no vote then. Okay, Ashley, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to say a few things, just listening to the doctor talk and stuff, and listening to you guys go about studies and everything. I guess a common sense question I would ask myself by listening to everybody talk is, how many of these expert T doctors that are doing these studies have lived around wind turbines 24/7? When you have citizens that are popping up all over the world, all over the United States, here right close to home every day, that are popping up saying, I've even talked to people that they have invested in wind turbines on their farm. They are getting payments. They were tickled pink to have wind turbines on their farms, and they now are sleeping in their basement. They're sleep deprived, everything else. So I really don't think him saying that the annoyance of them is what's bothering people, because I know people that wanted them, that it is now disrupting their lives. And I think last time you guys had a meeting, I touched on this, and you guys talk about annoyance. The doctor talked about annoyance a lot, that a lot of people just get annoyance from these. Well, I mean, people get annoyance from people's dogs barking in town, but you have never heard of that uprooting somebody from their house and having to move out of where they are living. So I think that that is something that you can kind of table. I know this doctor too has said that he is not compensated by anything. I have done some research, and he is a faculty member of the University of Iowa. They have been compensated very generously by Mid-America Energy over the years since he has started his studies and his research. They've been over $1 million. I have right here in 2016, they got $60,000. In 2017, they got $1.8 million. And a lot of the citizens that are talking to you, that are speaking from experience, that live around them 24/7, are not getting compensated by anybody. And they are living proof of it every day going through this. Where these studies that you guys are reading, I guess I would have to ask the question, how many of them have lived around them 24/7? How many of them have treated patients that live around them 24/7? Thank you for your time. Thank you for your vote, Chuck. I guess a moratorium to me means, I hear a lot of you people on the board say that you just really don't have enough information. Well, to me, that's what a moratorium means, is let's put a moratorium on them so we can get more information. So 50 years down the road, we protected our citizens of this county, our children, our grandchildren, instead of throwing it down the drain tonight and not protecting us at all. So thank you for your vote, Chuck, and your time.
All right. I want to be clear too, and I want to be respectful of my partners here on the board. And again, their knowledge base when it comes to health issues is much greater than mine. I respect their decision on this, and I think, whatever they decide one way or another, I think that's their right, and I respect that, and I respect the country that we live in that allows us to do that. So I think we move forward from here and go from there. So we're going to close this subject and move on to new business. Move on to policy review and go from there.
Chance to talk. I thought he was going to give a chance for other people to talk. Oh man.
Hey Tracy, you're on.
Oh, sorry.
You're on. So you better ask if you can speak.
Sorry. Would I be allowed public comment on that?
You could go ahead.
Okay, sorry. My name is Tracy Grosamy. I was under the impression that we were going to have another public comment section, and I was trying to wait patiently for that. I live northwest of Clarinda with my husband and our 5 kids, and this is a subject of great concern to us. I understand that there's a lot of research, and I understand that there's a lot of angst on both sides. I really do appreciate the work that you guys on the Board of Health have done. This has been a trying year for you guys in particular, And I I can't imagine the positions you're in, and I do thank you for your time with that. Unfortunately, the time is ticking on this issue also. And I feel like, especially in light of the past 12 months and what has been on your plate, that maybe a little more time, maybe another year of studying, halt this project. And again, I understand that you do not have the power to halt the project. You have the power to recommend a moratorium be placed on it for a set amount of time so that further research can be done. I am just a simple housewife. I don't have the educational background. I don't have doctor in front of my name. And one thing to consider is some of these doctors we hear from are not health doctors per se. Of course, they have a doctorate degree. I understand that. Some of my concerns would be that the pro-turbine side of the argument has a whole lot of money to throw at this. They have a whole lot of power and a whole lot of position, and they know how to disguise some things. They know how to get around some things that common folks like me do not. I don't have access to go pay for a study. I don't have that. Many of the people that have health concerns, in fact, I would venture to say most of the people that have health concerns from these turbines don't have the power, don't have the resources to do this. And so I think there's a very big bias in looking at studies because one side has so much financial gain to throw at studies to be done to benefit them, and the other side has none. And so I think that is something to be very concerned about as you look at research. I understand from a research perspective that you have to have good grounded research. I also understand that it is expensive to do. And the turbine industry has so much money to be able to throw at this. And so that causes me great alarm in the slant of the available, what would be considered quality research out there. But yet when, as it was pointed out by several people this evening, you hear of people all over the globe, different countries, all across the United States, where these things pop up, these same health concerns start popping up. Tish, I believe you said 20 years from now, maybe we'll know more. Unfortunately, 20 years from now is going to be too late for Page County if we go ahead and allow these things to come. I live on a small little 3 acres. It's nothing in the eyes of the world, but it's everything to us. And so what we are talking about are these setbacks. How safe is it for my family to live from these turbines? Should I wait until they're up and I'm surrounded by them to say, I guess we're not safe, and then we leave? Guess what? If I do that, I lose I can't sell my home in good conscience. And so people all across the United States, are there lots of examples? No, probably not. But there are certainly several examples of people that walk away from their home because they can't sell it, because they know they have health concerns and they could be sued if they sell their home when they're having health concerns because of living there. They don't have the money to hire lawyers like the turbine industry does. They don't have the money to do all this stuff. If you look at the people here tonight for pro turbines, these are people that are financially gaining from turbines. I know that Dr. Thorne said he's not, but there is research to link him to lobbying that things that he is involved in are getting lots of money from. I know that there has been a recommendation and it was turned down. I guess I'm asking for another one. I don't know if that's possible tonight, I guess I'm asking that I know that Tish was out of the room for a few minutes when Chuck Nordyke, when you made your motion, maybe she was out of the room. We saw Dr. Babe. We didn't see or hear from anyone else. They might not have even been in the room. Unfortunately, that's one of the limitations with Zoom. It's very concerning, and we are asking for more time. Again, I know that that motion has already been there. I wanted to say these comments before. I thought that we were to have more public comment option and opportunity between Dr. Thorne's presentation and the vote. I guess I should have interrupted, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to handle all of that. But those were the things that are really, I'm really struggling. If these things are allowed to come to Page County, can we continue to live here safely? And how long do we wait? So again, thank you. I hope that there's another chance that you could maybe, I don't know if it's against protocol to ask for an absolute, to ask for another vote or not, or at another meeting. Again, Chuck, I really appreciate that your vote for that. And I appreciate that Tish showed grave concern as she was not able to make a vote yes or no. To me, that says it's time for a moratorium. And I would encourage even to talk to the board members that haven't been able to make the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I guess we need to acknowledge too, Jess, that this is it for the board right now, right? 4 of us. So we're all here. So yeah, I mean, there's a question in the column over here that says there's no moratorium. Is that the same as tabling a moratorium? No. I made a motion that it was not seconded, so it kind of died on the vine. That doesn't mean that there couldn't be discussion or something down the road on this subject. It's not an absolute, this is the end all be all, but at this point, the board does not feel that moving forward with a recommendation for a moratorium is something that they want to do. And again, like I said, I respect their decisions, and we move on. So, okay.
I'm so sorry. I know you guys are tired of this topic and want to move, not tired of this topic, but you're ready to move on to other things. But we only get this opportunity once every 2 months. And I also had prepared something with some new documents and really also thought there was going to be a little more public comment time. Can I keep it quick and say something as quick as I can?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I mean, we heard everything about the nocebo and how it's all in everybody's head, but I would like to draw your attention to 2 different contracts I received this week in doing some research. Both are local to the area. One is the Page-Taylor Neighbor Agreement from Invenergy, and one is the Page-Taylor contract for Tenaska. Each contract names one of them some of the following side effects, one of them all of the following side effects, as some or all of the following may or will be experienced by the people who are living on a property that has a turbine or adjacent to a property that has a turbine. And those are listed as shadow flicker, light from FAA lights, impact on the view, and then what we're more concerned with, of course, shadow flicker being one of them, but wake, visual effects, vibration, air turbulence, electromagnetic, and frequency interference. So first of all, this is an acknowledgement that these things can and do happen from 2 different companies in our immediate area. In their own words, each company also prevents the residents or neighbors of like adjacent landowners who sign this paper from ever speaking against, ever suing, and fully waiving their rights to a jury trial. So that might even answer some of the questions that have been asked about, you know, is there a trial on this? Is there a jury trial? Is there a lawsuit on this? They're asked to sign these papers as a one-time chance to get a little bit of compensation. And once they sign those, they have deep within the hidden 16, 17 pages of this given up any right to ever have a trial, or even in some cases to even speak negatively. I can forward both of these onto the board. Again, they're local. And then just to reiterate one more time, I know it's been said, but a moratorium is not the extreme move. not having a moratorium is the extreme move. Not making a moratorium or suggesting a moratorium says, oh, nope, 1,500 feet from the foundation of your house, no doubt, 100%, shadow of a doubt, no problem, absolutely safe. A moratorium says, you know what, there's questions. We're too busy right now to go into this, or we feel like there's more things coming out that we'll just wait and see. The moratorium is I don't know the word for it. It's not the extreme. To not do it is the big extreme decision. So anyway, as a Page County citizen, as a medium-sized acreage owner who lives real close to a ridge on some out-of-town landowners who cannot even be contacted to plead our case, and as a mother raising children here who play on every corner of our property, I just would implore that the board recommend a moratorium until you can make a recommendation on a distance that is absolutely safe for all people to live, to work, and to play in. So thank you very much.
My email is in the chat. Feel free to send those over to me.
I will do that. Thank you.
Hey, Caitlin, this is Jess. Can you tell me the name of those contracts again for my minutes?
I have the from the Contrail Wind Farm through Invenergy, from the Contrail Wind Project. This was actually from a Taylor County resident, but it lists right here that they have plans for Taylor and Page. And then the other is a Tenaska land lease and wind easement, and it was from a Page County resident in the, which project was it? The Old Grove Partners project, it looks like, if I'm looking at this right, but a Tenaska and an Invenergy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we ready to move on? Policy review. So there's no policies with revisions. There is several policies with no revisions. There's no new policies and no policies placed on hold. So I need a motion to approve the policies with no revisions.
Motion.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, Tish, you okay with it?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. The environmental health report. Darren on?
Sam.
You're muted, Jess. Jess, you're muted. Jess?
Yep, I'm trying to get Darren unmuted right now.
Okay.
You guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep it brief. I've been helping with COVID clinics when possible. Spring construction has started. The rain, of course, has kind of given us a delay. But, I've done a couple of the tanning inspections since we got the orders passed. Really, that's about it, unless there's questions.
I don't have any questions.
Nothing.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, Public Health Administrator report. Jess, you're on.
All right. So we have done 3,473 COVID vaccines so far. We've had a lot of off-site clinics and on-site clinics, and both hospitals have sent staff to help us with that, so that's been amazing. Like Carmen said, our blood pressure clinics are still on hold. We only had 780 disease investigations. Isn't that sad that I'm excited about only having 780 disease investigations? It's really kind of sad. All of our meetings are still via Zoom. We are desperately looking forward to being able to see people again in person and go to, I mean, gosh, we're even looking forward to conferences again, which is crazy. We were given another $20,000 grant donation from the Clarinda Community Foundation, so that's going to help us tremendously. We are realizing that our budget is completely blown out of the water. The overtime with all the staff, all of the PPE that we're having to get to hold our clinics, just the expenses from COVID has, I mean, our budget's just completely blown. But everybody's aware that that was going to happen. You know, we have some CARES funds that we're working with. We're still submitting to FEMA. We haven't been reimbursed from FEMA yet, but I think we should be. So hopefully, Chris Grieber, the EMA, is the one who submits all of that. So we've been doing that quarterly. As you know, we did have a board member who resigned, so we're currently looking for another board member. So if you guys have anybody that you would recommend, definitely have them fill out the application, and they could either send it to the supervisors or send it to me. As you also know, we've had some staffing changes. So we were not awarded the tobacco grant. We are going to reapply for it though, for the 5 counties, all of our regular counties except for Ringgold. I did get some RFPs sent to me from the state. I've been working with Dawn on that, on the correct wording that I should use to submit the grant this time. So hopefully we will be awarded the 5 counties that we have lost. Back to COVID, we're getting 300 doses of Moderna each week. It doesn't sound like we're going to be getting any Johnson & Johnson anytime soon. Hy-Vee did get a shipment of it, but there's been something that's happened within Johnson & Johnson, so nobody can request J&J right now. I think Hy-Vee will get Johnson & Johnson again prior to us getting it. I think right now they're trying to keep the local public health on the Moderna and Pfizer for the ones who can handle that. We can't. We just don't have the capacity for it. We are still averaging 11 to 12 doses out of each 10-dose vial. Still working on the 65 plus population, as well as some of the 18 to 64 with underlying health conditions. We have lists that we're trying to work through, and it is literally taking us days to get through them, to get one clinic scheduled, because people have already received their vaccine somewhere else, or they've changed their mind, so on and so forth. So it's become a huge task, just the scheduling portion of these COVID clinics. We've been holding them on-site clinics, but we did outgrow the office because now we're doing 300 dose clinics. So starting in April, I did get an agreement with the fairgrounds over here in Clarinda. So we will start having our COVID clinics at Whipholm Hall, and then also at Nishna Valley Church in Shenandoah. So we're going to be alternating between Shenandoah and Clarinda, and that's just at the 300 dose capacity. That's us planning ahead at 300 doses. Now, if we start getting more, then we'll obviously have to switch gears, and we're going to have to bring in more hospital staff at both locations, and extra volunteers to help monitor and check people in, and so on and so forth. I am working on a volunteer list. So there again, if you guys know anybody who's interested in volunteering sometime at our COVID clinics, send them my way. I've got an ongoing list. We did go to all of the factories in the county. So all of our factories have received at least 1 dose of their COVID vaccine. I think in 2 weeks, we'll be going back to the rest of the factories. Well, some on this Friday and then some next Friday. So we should be finishing them up. The schools are finished, the daycares are finished. I do have 3 nurses who I have on payroll. Della, Vicky, and Melinda. They're doing all of the vaccines for us, as well as, like I said, both hospitals have sent me some staff to help. I did hire a receptionist to work on the scheduling portion. She is strictly working on scheduling and taking phone calls. and I think she might be regretting signing up for it because she's very overwhelmed at the end of every day. Her name's Heidi Carter. She's amazing. We love her. She's great. And we did start having the state do our disease investigations, which has taken a lot off of our plate. I mean, we still have to do some follow-up. We still have to, work with the schools and so on and so forth when we have kiddos that contract COVID or are close contacts. But other than that, the state's doing our investigations, which has helped tremendously. Our challenges are just everything that everybody else is going through right now. Time and staffing, exhaustion. We are very much so exhausted a year into this, with no time off, with just falling further and further behind. It's exhausting for sure. But you guys have any questions for me?
I don't, but I again want to reiterate, I think all the board would agree. Thank you very much for all the work and hours you guys are putting in. I know we're feeling it here at the hospital. I'm sure Shenandoah's feeling the same way. Again, thank goodness that you guys exist and are doing what you're doing, because it takes a lot of weight off the hospitals and allows us to treat, the acuteness and chronic illnesses that are coming up. But I get it. I think the mental anguish of all this, and then usually in an incident you have all this adrenaline and all the action happens, and then it's the aftermath you got to deal with. This was in reverse. We got all ready and just waited and waited and waited, and then now you guys are just putting in just ungodly hours, and I feel for you, so thank you.
Jess, I agree. I definitely say thank you. I do have a quick couple questions for you. How long do you think it'll be if you reapply for that tobacco grant? How long do you think it'll be till you hear whether or not we get any portion of it?
So the RFP opens back up April 1st, so I can't apply for it until then.
Okay.
I'm hoping within a month, because I really need to hire for that position.
Yeah.
I can't do this on my own. And Carmen's my only other full-time staff. She's a Homemaker client, so I have no assistant here.
And how much are we still looking at if we get all the rest of those counties for grant money?
It would be $10,000 less than our standard grant, so it'd be around $50,000.
Okay.
It would definitely cover.
It would cover.
Right.
And then in the interim, I know like you need a full-time spot in there, and I get that. In the interim, like for a month, for 6 weeks, whatever, how many hours do you think that you could get by with? And is there a possibility of these nurses that are on payroll for vaccines potentially stepping up to some of those hours for a short term?
Well, so the nurses that I'm using are already retired.
Okay.
And I am using them as much as I can. I know I'm probably stretching my staff very thin, using as much as we can, as much as I legally can within their capacities of being full-time, part-time, so on and so forth. I was going to put the ad out for a tobacco prevention specialist and hope that we could fill that position with somebody. Hopefully we'll get that grant. Do you guys not want me to put that ad out and try to fill that spot?
I think you need to.
Yeah, I think it's a sticky situation. I don't know how you can survive without the position.
Right.
My concern is, what do we do if the tobacco grant falls through? And it may just be that that's something we have to think about at that time. I don't know.
Right. I guess I don't understand why we didn't receive it the first time. So this whole situation just really floored me. So I would like to
find that out.
Do what?
Is there a way to find that out, why we didn't get it again? We've had that thing forever.
Yeah. We asked Garen, and he won't give us any information. So I reached out to Dawn, and the only thing that she could tell me is that we just didn't receive enough points. So what that means is it was the way it was written.
Okay.
Who wrote it?
The tobacco coordinator.
Okay. Okay. All right, any other questions?
I think you got to hire somebody.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
you know,
Gosh,
the board of
thank you.
supervisors, they said earlier, like, get what you got to get and we'll make it work in the long run. Like, if we have to have a bake sale next year, maybe we can have a bake sale or something. I don't know. Like, you guys, I mean, 3,400 vaccines, that's amazing. I mean, that's really amazing. So, I mean, you've got to get yourself some help. We're not going to have an office if we burn you guys out so bad that you won't go back to work. So,
No, and I totally agree with Dr. Babe there. Yeah.
I don't know how to make money up here, but
I will say we have received a ton of compliments, Page County, on how many people we have vaccinated and how quickly we're pushing this out. We are receiving compliments from, I mean, bordering county people, residents that come to us and they want us to vaccinate them because they just can't get the vaccine elsewhere. So we are very fortunate that we have amazing staff to be able to get through this. So my staff, they're great. I love them. They're wonderful. And even though I'm working them to the bone.
And we're pretty fortunate to have you leading it too.
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Our next meeting, May 17th, 2021, at the Page County West Building in Shenandoah. We're going to have it in person, huh?
Do you guys want to try to have this in person?
Hey, I'm all in.
I mean, we'll probably still do the Zoom option just in case too, but
yeah,
I don't think we want a ton of people in that little room.
No.
Just for my knowledge, what do we do for, so we're down a member. We wait, you said something about Board of Supervisors or somebody recommendation. So how does this run? How does this work? Sorry. I've not had one leave in the middle like that.
Yeah, so they've already put out, or they are putting out an ad requesting applications. The Board of Supervisors then will get together and they will choose somebody to fill that spot. And so that person will just fill the remainder of Chad's term.
Okay.
What is Chad's term is still pretty hefty, isn't it?
It is, Chad's, well, no, Chad just has, well, it'd be the end of 2022, so a year and a half.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We can adjourn if everyone's okay with it.
Second.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Stay well.
Guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.